Welcome to the Sonic Coast. It's where Michigan music comes first. So excited today because Myron Elkins is on the phone with me. Hometown of Otsego, right? Is that right, Myron?
Yeah, yep.
Tell me about how you took a pivot from coming out of high school and being a welder to becoming a musician.
I always say it was kind of just accidental. I was just kind of stumbling around and kind of, I guess, fell into it. Um, I I always loved music growing up, especially traditional country music. Um, as far as outlaw movement and country music, and even kind of the folkier versions like Jimmy Rogers and Hank Williams and all that. And right out of high school, I started writing pretty heavily, and I just got more and more obsessed with music, and then soul music kind of joined that, and old school rock and roll joined that, and um, I was I started playing around a little bit and got kind of pushed onto stages because I got really bad stage fright and still do.
Wow.
Um, and eventually, my boss heard about it at the factory I was working in, and he had a connection to my now manager, and my now manager knew how to make this thing a career, and it just kind of worked out that way.
Wow, that's amazing. What was your first gig in Michigan? Your very first show?
I think it would have been the VFW in Door, Michigan, um, and that would have been with a guy named Sean. Me and my cousin had been sitting in the barn writing some stuff and just getting started, and we just did an opening set, and I was scared to death, but it went pretty well. It was just a small thing, and then yeah, from there I just kind of did some open mic stuff for songwriter rounds and all that.
I love it. Talk to me about your grandfather, Pawpaw.
Yeah, he always enjoyed the country music. I guess that's where it came from for me. Again, we're talking very traditional country music, and even maybe some bluegrass in there. And he would sing a lot of story songs, um, particularly this song called "Bringing Mary Home." It's kind of like a bluegrass standard, and it's kind of a ghost song, which is kind of funny. But I remember him singing it, and I'd really get into it and just kind of run a movie in my head, I guess, while he was singing it. And I just thought that was so weird how just a guitar and somebody, I guess, reciting words could do that. And yeah, he taught me, I guess, the cowboy chords and all the, I guess, how to deliver a message.
Right. Where does the inspiration come from? Like when you are writing a song, where do you go or where are you pulling the lyrics from and the ideas from?
The inspiration's funny because it just kind of sprung up one day, um, and it kind of feels like you get like, I guess, how you feel hungry or how you feel thirsty,
Hmm.
and you feel like you got to write,
I
you
love
know,
that.
and it hasn't went away. And once you sit down to write because you feel the need to, I guess. Things will come back to you that maybe you even forgot about, or maybe something that has been bugging you will sit there and you'll throw that down on the paper. So it's always a surprise. And I heard Tom Petty talk about this thing, and I connected with it quite a bit. And he said he doesn't really like to think about it too much. It's almost like looking into the sun, because
Mm.
it might hurt you if you think about it. And it's just kind of it's kind of spooky, I guess, or eerie, because you don't really know where the ideas ever come from or where that urge comes from, because it's not really on the top of your mind. It's more in the back.
Wow. I love that. Well, you just talked about one of my all-time favorites. So I was so devastated when he left the planet so young.
Absolutely, yeah. He's if you ask me, he's probably the last great rock and roller. And just a he has a impeccable talent for writing a catchy song.
Yeah.
And me growing up, like I said, I've always loved the traditional stuff and not so much the poppier side of stuff. But for
Right.
some reason, Tom Petty could sing a pop song, and he gets me, you know?
Right. Yeah, it was like he would paint such a vivid picture, and he took you places through his music that was unparalleled. Wow. Well, good. I'm glad we gave props to Tom because I'm still hurting over that one. Why don't we play Factories, Farms, and Amphetamines? It's the title track. This is Myron Elkins on with me on the Sonic Coast. New Michigan music first. And then when we come back, I'm going to ask him about that song, and he's going to tell me where his head was and the meaning of that song. Thank you so much for tuning into the Sonic Coast. Factories, Farms, and Amphetamines. Myron Elkins is on the phone with me. He's going to be doing a gig actually coming up this Wednesday on Thanksgiving Eve along with the Gasoline Gypsies. It's at the Shelter in Detroit. Tickets are still available. You should definitely go see this young man play live. Talk to me about that record. Where was your head? What is that about?
I don't think there was a super direct message or something I was completely trying to get at. It was more of just a collection of ideas, and I had been, I guess, evolving and trying to find my way as a musician and as a person even. When I got to the studio to record, I had a whole just kind of song book, and me and my friends and family had been woodshedding in a barn in Plainville, Michigan, for probably about 2.5 years, maybe two. It was just it was a really fun combination because I feel like we weren't ready, but we couldn't have waited any longer. You know, I know that sounds kind of, kind of crazy, but
not at all.
And we were helped through that whole thing, that whole experience, by a producer named Dave Cobb, who we respected, and who understood the meaning of a song in not trying to write a hit or anything, I guess, shallow like that.
You know what? That's a great segue because my next question was about Dave Cobb and how you manifested actually working with him. You have to tell me the story.
Yeah, so we as a band and all enjoyed this thing, and we could never figure it out really. But we found a lot of it on the oldies station. It was in the Temptations, but it was also in George Jones, and it was in, it was in the band, you know, but it was also in Jimmy Rogers. And I still don't know what to call it. Some people call it Americana music, but we can find that in the Faces, you know, and they're not from America. We started finding this feeling that we really loved in people like Jason Isbell and people like, I guess even Chris Stapleton. And this one guy was kind of cutting all these records, and that happened to be Dave Cobb. And he was a connoisseur of that kind of feeling. And I always just call it kind of soul, you know, just kind of like a lot of soul in the music. And even Tom Petty's got that. Bob Seger's got that.
Oh, yeah.
So we were pretty, we stayed out of the studios. We did one thing in Grand Rapids with a good friend. And then we just kind of forgot about it. It went pretty good, but it was, recording's a weird thing. It's not the same as writing. It's not the same as performing. It's a whole other thing on its own. So we went in there and we kind of left and just kind of kicked that thing around and kind of critiqued it and all that. And I started opening for some more heavy hitters, like Marcus King was the guy I opened for in Nashville, and Dave was looking for a project, and he heard potential, and he just reached out, and we were just blown away. You know, I was still working in the factory, and
Wow.
when we got the email, I headed out and sat in my car, and we talked on the phone, and I didn't really know how to do it. They sent over the contract, and it was just like that.
Wow. That is so great. And you guys had been joking around about wanting him to produce your record, correct?
Yeah. Well, that's what we would all, it's almost like we would say a bunch of stupid stuff like that because we were still in awe that we were even, we had some chances or some opportunities to open some big shows to us. You know, we would open for people we really respected, like this outlaw country guy named Whitey Morgan, or this we'd play the after parties for people up at the intersection of Grand Rapids. They're like, wow, this is really big time, this is crazy, because we just expected to be kicking around in bars, which we would have done happily.
Right.
Yeah. And so we would always joke around like, well, I don't know if we should cut a record. We don't know how to cut a record.
Right.
And it might just be all for nothing anyway. So we'll just wait until somebody huge comes knocking, like Ruben or Cobb or something crazy like that. And then sure enough, yeah, wow. It just it was very organic too, which I love, because you never want to force something or somebody into something.
No, creativity cannot be forced. It just, it has to flow. And I am telling you, you are so talented. I've so thoroughly enjoyed reading up on you. And speaking of, if you want to hear more or you want to learn more, you want to plug in with Myron, it's myronelkins.com. Easy place to find him. Talk to me about meeting Mavis Staples. I about fell over when I saw that picture on your Instagram.
Yeah, every time somebody brings it up, I get chills. As soon as he said that, I just got chills again. So I don't know if the listeners or anything knows exactly who Mavis Staples is, but she was a member of the Staple Singers. Mm-hmm. Just a beautiful example of American music. I mean, they brought the gospel, and then eventually they got into some funky soul music and started making some real money. But I sat there and watched her. I've been getting really heavy into soul and gospel. And her band was fantastic. Rick Holstrom was on the guitar, and he blew me away. And after the show, I started creeping around backstage, and my guitar player kind of pushed me back there. We're like, we gotta wait. And sure enough, she came out, and her tour manager was from Battle Creek, actually, and he asked us what the hell we were doing back there. And we just said, we just played. We're from Kalamazoo, and we're just trying to, meet Mavis. And sure enough, she got off the cart. She held my hand. And
wow.
We told her, wow, this is crazy. And she said, I can't believe people, young people like you even know,
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it's just unreal. I've been listening to Roebuck Staple. That would be Pop Staple, her father's, I think it would be his latest album, called Don't Lose This. And man, just can't say enough about them. That's that Pop Staple with that guitar. That was the reason why CCR sounded the way they did.
Oh man, yeah, they
with
drew
that tremolo.
Yep, they drew so much influence from there. Tell me about shedding some light, because this is something new that you're doing, and I want to know what it is. What was the inspiration?
Well, after we left the studio, Dave opened our eyes to records. And the heavy records that we were finding were this subgenre called country funk.
Okay.
And these records were made by a lot of obscure artists. The big one being Jim Ford, um, Bobby Charles, this guy named Tony Joe White, who's a little bit more, I guess, more known. And we started listening to these records, and I was blown away. This led me down rabbit holes to stop looking at my favorite artists and start looking at their inspirations.
Oh, look at you.
So I found Delaney and Bonnie, who I've just, maybe my favorite band ever, but I would have never heard of these guys because they never, they never had that thing, I guess, that success. And I found this man named Frankie Miller from Scotland, who before him, I didn't think anybody could even get close to Otis Redding. I mean, Otis Redding's voice is just impeccable. And Frankie Miller, man, he's as close as you can get to having that kind of power in your throat.
Wow.
So I was finding all these people, and I just get angry, I guess. It's kind of out of anger. It's kind of out of respect. It's kind of out of all of this. And also I'm very, very bad at doing social media stuff. I don't really, I guess I don't do well with the whole presenting on there. So I was just going to sit down, and once a month I was going to release a episode on a group that I found that I think deserves to be just as big as whatever your favorite artist is,
Right. I love it. I think it's a really cool, creative thing to do. And all of, everyone on the planet is drawing their influence from somewhere. It's a very cool feature. So you're just going to do that through your Instagram page, right?
Yeah, I'm putting it on Instagram, and then you can't get through nothing without being on the social media. So I opened up a TikTok, and I ain't gonna do the TikTok thing, but I'm gonna put those on there.
Okay.
And then I'll do a cover of one of their songs. The next episode is gonna be on Delaney and Bonnie. I was actually just working on it, and this first one was on Frankie Miller, who's the guy who was my turning point. Like that was enough. That was when I was like, all right, I'm gonna put this stuff up, even if nobody watches it. I don't care. Yeah. It's gotta, anything to shed some light on those guys.
That's awesome. Let's play another song, and then do you have some time? I want to ask you a couple more questions before I let you go. Do you have a little bit more time?
Yeah.
Awesome. Here is another track from Farms, Factories, and Amphetamines. You are listening to Myron Elkins. It's a great song. It's called Wrong Side of the River. Michigan music first on the Sonic Coast. Alrighty, I'm back with Myron Elkins. I'm so grateful that you would take the time to speak to me today. So many cool things are coming up for you. You actually have a show on Wednesday night, Thanksgiving Eve, at the Shelter in Detroit. Tickets are still available. Where do you go from there? Are you guys just going to take it on the road and just start gigging everywhere you can?
Yeah, we haven't really been able to find, I guess, a home as far as genre goes. Like I said, we started off more country, and we've added rock and roll, we've added soul. So I've always felt like we could really play just about anywhere and fit in just as much as we would anywhere else. So that we've also became the band where they know that we will go even if we're going to lose money or even if it's going to suck. So
good for you.
So yep. Anybody that calls, anybody that does anything, we're heading there. And then hopefully we'll be cutting a new record, and it should be out hopefully next year.
Awesome. Boy, oh boy, I'm just going to say it right now. I just see and feel and hear big things from you on the way. I mean, I'm just absolutely amazed that this is your debut record, and it is so solid. So congratulations. And I really think the pivot from welding to musician was a very lovely move for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely been it's been a lot of fun. And I'm glad I've gotten to be able to do it because I wouldn't say it was getting tiring, but like I said, I just had that itch, and now I feel I've at least got to scratch it a little bit.
That's fantastic. Is there anything that perhaps I have not touched on today that you would like to say or, add?
Not really. I'm glad you brought up the shedding some light thing, because I am really passionate about these artists that I've discovered since diving in full time into music. But yeah, play some Frankie Miller, play some Delaney and Bonnie if you can. Ry Cooder, Little Feat, all these, I guess less known about guys,
Right.
They're just there's a lot of great music out there, and the common people don't have enough time to dig on their own. So yeah, that's really been my message for the last year. Just been trying to write music, play music, and discover music, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, you're doing the digging for us. Shedding Some Light. You can check it out, Myron Elkins, on his Instagram page. And he's finding some really, not really, you're discovering things that have been around, but maybe they didn't get the press and they didn't rise up to fame like some of the other bands that found influence with these underappreciated, I guess. Factories, Farms, and Amphetamines. This has been Myron Elkins on the Sonic Coast, and my name is Jane Asher. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. And Myron, I can't thank you enough. I hope to be able to interview you again and again.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.